Well, greetings, fellow Star Trek fans. I got something really cool to talk to you today about. This is going to be the model kit of the USS Enterprise. This, of course, is AMT, and this is the S951 model kit. The USS Enterprise from the original Star Trek television show. In my opinion, the best one. And I got a few kits to show you, and eventually I'll show you what's inside the box. But right now I'd like to let you listen to a little clip that I made on the history of this model.
There are a few things for me that bring back my childhood, like model kits do, especially in particular the USS Enterprise. Each time I see the model kit, or watch Star Trek on television, I am instantaneously brought back to the time when I would be lying on the floor, staring at the television in wonder as the USS Enterprise would pass by on the screen. When I see the model kit of the USS Enterprise by AMT, I get the same feeling. I am brought back in time as I try to glue the model together, making a mess and getting the glue all over the place, while desperately trying to make it look like the illustration on the box. The first issue of the USS Enterprise model kit was issued by AMT. This was back in 1966. The original model was to be lit on the top of the saucer section and in the bottom of the saucer section. The bridge area and the sensor dome had clear plastic parts molded in transparent green. The kit came with two small light bulbs which would pass in small holes to light the designated areas. The deflector dish would be used as the on and off switch, and the secondary hull would house the batteries. The first issue of the kit was model number 921-200. The box and art on it was in a portrait layout, meaning the box would stand vertically, and the illustration of the ship would be as a painting. The base that would hold the finished model was a large triangular shape. This would rest on a V-like pillar rising off of the base. The base would also be modeled in clear resin. The second issue of the USS Enterprise model kit would feature a couple of changes. First of all, in addition to the lights in the top and the bottom of the saucer section, now the two Bussard collectors on the warp nacelles would also be lit. The Bussard collectors themselves would be molded in transparent orange resin. The wires from the Bussard collector lights would run down through the nacelle pylons and meet the wires from the primary hull in the secondary hull at the battery housing. The second noticeable change would come in the box art. The box illustrations would now be in a landscape format, meaning the box would stand horizontally. In addition, the USS Enterprise illustration would be an actual photo of the finished model kit, as it orbited Earth with the moon in its background. This kit would be numbered S951. Another change to the kit itself would be to the base on which the model would sit. It would still be shaped the same, but it would now be molded in a solid white resin, as opposed to the clear resin used in the original release. The following issue of the USS Enterprise Spaceship Model Kit would see the removal of all lights, as well as the transparent orange pieces for the Bussard collectors on the warp nacelles. The Bussard collectors would be cast in solid white resin, as they were in the original release back in 1966. This model kit will be numbered S951-250. The following issue of the Enterprise would see an increase in the decal sheet. The words "Build the entire fleet" would be on the side of the box. In addition to the USS Enterprise, the decal sheet would include decals to build the USS Yorktown, USS Valiant, USS Hood, USS Potemkin, the USS Constellation, the USS Congo, the USS Exeter, the USS Farragut, the USS Excalibur, the USS Intrepid, the USS Republic, the USS Constitution, and the USS Lexington. This kit would be numbered S951-803. This long box kit number S951 would see several modifications during its production, the removal of the electronics being the largest change. This edition of the kit would call for the ship to be cemented to the base in a permanent position. This would make it difficult to hand from the ceiling and make it appear to fly. Perhaps this would be the reason why AMT would modify the kit once again in the early 1970s. The following issue of the Enterprise would appear in the early 1970s and would be different in that the box would be in a portrait format. It would stand vertical like the original release in 1966. The box would be noticeably smaller as well. It would still be the same photo of the finished model on the box, the same one that was on the long box. As to the model itself, the stand, which was triangular in shape, would be switched to more of a pair of X-shaped flat sections. They would be connected by a long thin piece. This would allow for more room, or what would be for a much smaller box. The base did not require the model to be permanently cemented to it, but would rather be held in place with a small pin. A small piece of resin molded into the front piece would hold the model in place. It would be inserted into the small hole in the bottom of the model. Just behind the deflector dish, on the underneath of the model kit itself, was the small hole in which the piece would fit into. There would still be no lights to the kit, but the extra decals to build the entire fleet would still remain. Again, in the following issue would see the box shrink yet again. This was during the 1980s. The molded pieces would also appear a light blue in color. The model kit itself would be unchanged, and the extra decals would also be left in the kit. One way to tell this kit apart from the one from the 1970s would be the AMT logo on the side of the box. Ertl purchased AMT and added its name beneath the red AMT logo as part of a frame around it. The previous version of this kit had the AMT logo by itself. This kit would change again in the 1990s. The box would get even smaller, and the photo on the front of the Enterprise would once again be a painted illustration of the ship. The box would be black, with finished photos of the kit on one side. The model kit itself did not change, as the change came to the box and art only. This kit would be numbered 6676. AMT would later reissue the earlier kits, which were met with great success. Polar Lights reissued the original AMT 1966 issue of the 50th anniversary of Star Trek. The box art was identical to the original release. One big difference would be that Polar Lights would include a half-dome base with a steel rod display stand. The decals much more elaborate as well. They are truer to the filming model in the Smithsonian. The box itself would be a collector's tin with a removable lid. This would be encased in a removable plastic sleeve with the Delta logo.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the little bit of history that I put together for you. I'd like to show you some of these boxes. Excuse me. I got a couple. I'm lucky enough to have a couple that are still in their original packaging. This one that I had showed you earlier. You know, there are different versions of these kits too. Even though the long box, if you're looking for an S951, and let's say you're a collector and you're going to look and you want one that's still in a plastic wrap, even though it's the long box, there are different versions of the long box. For instance, this one, if you see the as seen on NBC TV on the box, that means that this kit is going to contain the Bussard collectors that are lit, and the top of the bridge and the lower sensor dome are all going to be lit. The Bussard collectors pieces are clear orange pieces that are lit by bulbs, and the bulb wires pass through the neck section or the primary hull pylon, and then through the pylons of the nacelles, and then they connect to the battery holster, and they're powered that way. But this is a good way. If you're looking for this particular model kit, you can see on the other side as well where it says featuring upper lower dome and power units equipped with operating lights. Colorful Star Trek decal, twin power units, total length of the spaceship is 18 inches. And it shows you the illustration. And it will show you S951. I don't know if you can see that right there. And of course it still has, as the original release, Mr. Spock and Captain Kirk. Again, if you're looking for something, you know, for a collectible piece, and even if you look on eBay, and you may put in AMT model kit S951, and you may be looking for something, and even though it may say 1960s, like this one may come up, for instance. Excuse me. Again, they're not lying. It was S951. And when they put 1968 in the listing, you can see they're not lying either, because you can see there's 1968 that's stamped on the box, but this is actually between the late 60s, early 70s release of this kit. This is when it's been retooled with a different base to hold the ship on. And then there's this one. This is another version of the long box. And you can see it's got the same siding as the original release, but on the side of Captain Kirk there's nothing there. And that means that this kit only has the basic. It has the basic decal sheet. There's no electronics in the ship, so the Bussard collectors would be in plastic, white plastic, but the top and the bottom of the saucer section will still have the clear green plastic pieces, but they're not illuminated. And this kit would not have the decal sheet that has all the extra ships where you could make the entire fleet. And this kit would be, you can see, S951-250. So it's important to remember these little things if you're looking for this kit on eBay, because these kits are really hard to find wrapped in plastic in mint condition. This one is in really great condition. I ended up getting this one first, and I was ecstatic to get it because I thought they all came with the lights, and that's not the case. Only a few actually came with the lighting of the Bussard collectors and the top of the bottom. Don't forget, the original release of this kit only had the lighting for the top of the saucer section and the bottom. It didn't have the Bussard collectors. Which leads me to believe, I mean, this was such a cool kit, why didn't they continue it? Again, if you're looking and you see, as long as you see the As Seen on NBC box, on the side of Captain Kirk, you know this is the one that has the lights and the Bussard collectors. And this is S951. So let's say you're looking for kit S951 and you go on eBay and you want to get a collectible. Well, this one could come up too, because S951. And they could say rare, and you know how they like to put rare. And it's unopened, and this kit is still worth money, but nothing at all compared to the long box version. So, that being said, you might be wondering what's on the inside of the boxes. The difference between this box and the vertical box, obviously the size, this one's a lot smaller, the 70s release. And eventually they moved on to the 90s. Let me show you, I've got one from the 1990s, and they switched to kit. Let me see if I can show you the kit number. 6676. And you can see they still have the same stand. Now, Polar Lights retooled this kit, especially for the 50th anniversary edition, and they retooled the original, and they added the more Polar Lights friendly half dome base with the metal rod, which is a lot better than that. I really don't care for that stand. I don't know of many people that do like that stand. But this was during the 90s. And after this version, it had gotten, well, this one was pretty much most of the 90s, and it's really, nothing has changed except the box. This one was AMT Ertl, and Polar Lights had retooled some of the kits and resold them, and then in 2012 they officially bought, I'm speaking of Polar Lights, they purchased AMT. And the kit, of the release of the Enterprise kit now, has the dome base. So that being said, actually I could put that, I don't know if you can, probably can't see that, but I don't want it to fall, so I'll put that over here. And this is, like I said, this is the one with the lights. So let me go ahead and I'm going to get one for you. It doesn't have the lights in it, but I'm going to show you what's in it. Okay, so I got one that's open. Let me take this one out. Put that one over there. And I don't know if you can see that. Let me bring it down just a bit. Now, as you can see, this one has nothing on the side of Captain Kirk. And that tells me that if I can't see the contents of the box, that tells me that there is no lighting, no wires, nor does it have the decal sheet that's offers all the ships in the fleet to be made. So let me go ahead and I'll open it up and I'll show you what's in it. Again, box art. It's so cool. Okay. This one is still wrapped in plastic. Let me show you the base. You can see that the base is pretty large. And it's such a cool base, too. It's really cool. Let me show you, there's a little piece that gets cemented. You can see that. And this goes into the little grooves. It gets held in place that way. It's a lot bigger than what they put. And you can see this in the box is going to take up a lot more room than that. And when they shrunk the box, like I said, they changed the stand into that kind of stand, which is kind of like two X's with one small piece of plastic keeping it together. So that's the stand. Again, that's for what's in this box, not what's in that box. I'll put that over there. Let's see the decal sheet in this one. And again, this is pretty old, so you can see it's the nacelle, sides of the nacelles, the sides of the secondary hull, the saucer section, and the two areas underneath the saucer section. All in all, from a kit from the late 1960s, this one is still in pretty good shape. This one was not the one that's sealed, so I did not open one, just to let you know. This is one that I had purchased from eBay, and I'll put a picture up so you can see a better shot of the instruction of the decals. So, let me show you the instructions. The instructions have the box art on it. And you can see it says S951602. So I don't know if that's the one that does not have this. That's probably the kit that does not have the lighting, nor does it have the extra decals. So let me show you let me open it up for you. Again, I'm going to put pictures up to show you because it's pretty cool. The assembly instructions. And again, in the other kits that I told you, they have the lights. They would show the illustrations with the wires, whether it's for the primary hull or the Bussard collectors. That's the front. I'll show you the back. And this is just take you right back to your childhood. At least it does to me anyway. You can see the stand. So the instructions and the decals from this kit. This one is still wrapped in plastic, as you can see. I'm not going to open it. Sorry guys, I want to keep it sealed in the bag. But I can show you another way to check. Let's say you want to get one of these kits, and you know, you go on eBay and you're looking for it, and they say, you know, ultra rare and, you know, really worth a lot of money, collectible. And for the dates, the earlier kits, like the long box and even the original release in 1966, if you look at the nacelles, you're going to see that they have an opening. Now this goes through the bottom of the ship, the secondary hull, and there's a piece that goes in to lock it into place so it doesn't move or come out. And the newer releases don't have that, where this is just a solid piece. So that's one way to try to remember. Again, this one has the Bussard collectors. I don't know if you can see them, but they're solid. Whereas the lit version that I showed you had, these would be cast in clear orange plastic for the illumination of the Bussard collectors. You can see the back of the nacelle, the impulse engines, and the nacelle right there. We flip it over, you can see the underneath of the saucer section. You can see the little round circles that surround the bridge dome. And they have these little puck marks, little indentations, 3 of them. I'm not sure what that is or what that's from. But you see the piece where the deflector dish goes. Like I was telling you, those little pieces that hold the nacelles on to the secondary hull, these are actually the pieces. And what they do is they slide into the bottoms of the nacelle pylons to hold them in place. So that's basically, a lot of these came off the trees. It should have the green, here it is. I'm going to say it should still have these. These are the tops and the bottoms for the saucer section. The one on the bottom is the sensor dome, and it's got the little protrusion on it. And the one on top is for the bridge. You can see they're still modeled in the clear plastic green. But that's what's in this kit. And I don't have a kit that's opened of the newer one. This one is sealed as well, but I showed you what the stand would look like on the later release. And this is when they moved to Baltimore. You can see the decal included, special decal to make the entire fleet. They still had the same box art, which is still a beautiful, one of my most favorite pictures of any model ever. Again, just to recap for you, if you're looking for models on eBay, or it doesn't even have to be on eBay. Let's say it's Craigslist, or even if you're at a yard sale and you see a model kit that's sealed and someone's trying to tell you that, oh, you know, it's an original, and it's worth a lot of money, and it's got lights in it. One way you can tell is pick up the box, and if it's sealed and you can't see the contents on the inside, just flip it over. Look for Captain Kirk's picture, and on a square on the side of them, if it says as seen on NBC TV, then you know that this is the jackpot one. This is the best one, because this one has, in addition to the top and lower saucer being lit, it's got the Bassard collectors that are also lit. I was thinking about opening this one and doing an unboxing and making it. I still don't know if I'll do that or not. I may not. But it's hard to find them in this kind of condition. So, that's in my opinion, the most desirable model or version of this model kit, the long box. And like I showed you earlier, eventually it would just be modeled down in the 90s and later for this one, with that kind of a base. And again, this is for the original Starship Enterprise. What's going to happen is, as soon as they do the refit and Star Trek the Motion Picture comes out, it's going to be a whole new kit of series of models, and that'll be a whole nother section or a whole nother video for me to show you guys the refit versions of the Enterprise. But this is the original version of the Enterprise, originally released in 1966, retooled in the late 60s to the long box, and there are different versions. And one of the versions I didn't even mention was there is one also that shows how to get a jacket it's in the square. It's even on it's on this side. See how this one is kind of blank? That would be where you can get a jacket, some kind of special order. So there are a couple of different versions of the long box model, even though they are S951. Then they shrink it down and they change the modeling. The plastic, you'll notice, is a lot thinner too. It's more of a meaty plastic for the release in the 60s than from the 70s and up. But if you guys were curious to see what was in the kit, I hope that satisfied your curiosity. And let me just bring it back so you can see all of them. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Like I said, I'm going to be doing the same kind of video history and informative video on the refit, like when the movies started coming out, Star Trek the Motion Picture and the Wrath of Khan. But for now, this is the original USS Enterprise, specifically AM kit number S951. I hope you enjoyed this and the little bit of history that I gave you on it. Until next time, take care.